U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says some of Russia's actions in Ukraine amount to atrocities. He said this today during an international security forum where he reaffirmed NATO's support for Ukraine.
Russia isn't just waging a war of aggression. It's also deliberately attacking civilian targets and civilian infrastructure with no military purpose whatsoever. Now, these aren't just lapses. These aren't exceptions to the rules. These are atrocities.
Secretary Austin went on to warn of what he called a dangerous spiral nuclear proliferation among other countries ruled by autocrats. CNN is reporting that the U.S. is running low on advanced weapons and ammunition systems that have been critical to Ukraine's success on the battlefield. Joining us now to talk more about this is CNN military analyst, retired Air Force Colonel Cedric Leighton. Okay, Cedric, how concerned are you about these shortages and if they possibly could change momentum in this conflict?
Yeah, I am actually very concerned about this, Brianna.
Really?
So one of the key things to look at is these are the types of weapon systems that are being used by us right now. So we've got howitzer rounds, the 155 millimeter variety, Stinger anti-aircraft missiles. These are, of course, critically important, and they've been talked about quite a bit. The anti-radiation missile known as HARMS, these surface-to-surface missiles that are part of the HIMARS system, and of course the Javelins. So these have been critical force enablers for the Ukrainians. So far, we've spent $18.3 billion on the Ukraine war since February 24th. Now, that's going to definitely be going up. But the other thing you have to ask yourself is, what is giving us more bang for the buck? Compare this to Afghanistan, where we threw a lot of money into Afghanistan, up to $1 trillion, according to some estimates. This right here is a lot less than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's billions. Billions are a lot, but relatively speaking, it's kind of small. The other issue, and we've talked a lot about this, is the political influence of this most recent election. Actually, Pamela Brown spoke with Congressman James Comer. He is we expect the incoming oversight chairman, and he was talking with her about how support for Ukraine may change. Maybe it won't. We'll see when the GOP takes control. Here it is.
Soon-to-be Speaker McCarthy has said he won't give Ukraine a blank check. As things escalate, what do you think is the best approach? Should the U.S. do more to help Ukraine hold Vladimir Putin accountable?
Well, we all support Ukraine against Russia, right? We've given them a lot of money. And one thing that Republicans are asking for, myself included, is an audit. We need to know. We've given them billions and billions of dollars. Where has it gone? Don't say, all right, we spent $45 billion on arms and $15 billion on humanitarian relief. That's not specific enough. So you give us an accounting, and I think there'll be more support moving forward for that. But until there's a full accounting and an inspector general, that's what most, big projects like that has. I don't think there's going to be a lot of support from Republicans.
All right, so listening to what he said, what are your concerns?
So the main thing that I heard in that was the very last sentence where he said, I don't think there'll be a lot of support from Republicans. What the key thing to think about here is, what are we talking about? If we don't give support to the Ukrainian war effort, these gains that we see right here, that the Ukrainians were able to achieve around Kharkiv, what they've been able to do around Kherson, and we look at this from a blown up perspective in the south, these are significant, and they would not have been possible if it hadn't been for these weapons. So if the Republicans are saying they're not going to support anything until they get a full accounting, that's going to be a tall order to do. They should get a full accounting, but to ask the Ukrainians to do it would be a mistake. The Department of Defense will have to do it, and there's some questions as to whether or not they can actually do that at this time.
Very good explanation of that. So, of course, in Ukraine, winter is upon the Ukrainians, and you see Russia attacking things that are going to make that really tough on the civilian population, not just on the military population. And I think, though, I wonder if you think that's actually going to affect things, because if anything, the Ukrainians have shown us how tough they are at withstanding challenges that oftentimes people think would break them, and it just doesn't.
That's right. And I think there's a bit of a precursor in history to this. When you look at the bombing campaigns of World War II, you found that the civilian populations that were impacted by these bombing campaigns were actually pretty resilient, and their resolve actually toughened and stiffened the more these bombing campaigns occurred. And this kind of same psychological response to what is happening now in Ukraine, with the Russians attacking them in their infrastructure areas all over the country. Go to Lviv, go to Kyiv, go to Kharkiv, go into the middle of the country. All of these different places are being impacted, and you've got over 10 million people at least impacted by, that's about a quarter of the population, impacted by power outages on a fairly consistent basis. That is significant, but never once have I heard a Ukrainian say that they're going to give up because of these events.
It blows your mind, and you can't really understand it till you speak to Ukrainians, right? I mean,
right.
When I went to Ukraine, that was the most important thing I think I walked away with, was just understanding that resolve. And it's because they're fighting for a future generation. They're fighting for their children. They don't want their kids to have to put up with this. And that is something that they will endure a lot for. I think a lot of Americans can connect with that.